Summit, Glocros. My name is Leonora Enyonam, a communication specialist, and it is my absolute pleasure to serve as your moderator for today's conversation. Just talking about jobs, we are talking about relevance, we are talking about preparedness, and we are talking, most importantly, talking about how the African youth can confidently compete, contribute, and lead on global stages. Please confirm if you can hear me.
Hi, Nora.
Okay.
I can hear you, but it looks like it's...
All right. Thank you so much for the feedback. Okay. I guess the tone of All right, thank you so much for the patience. Thank you so much for the patience. Was a technical glitch, but I think it's resolved now. So we're saying that we are not just here to talk about jobs. We're talking about relevance. We're talking about preparedness as African youth. And most importantly, we're talking about how the African youth can confidently compete, contribute, and lead on the global stage. So this summit brings together voices from different parts of the world, each with lived experience, professional depth, and a shared commitment to impact. Our theme for today is the future of work, high impact skills African youth need to compete globally. As technology evolves, borders blur, and opportunities shift. But one question remains: are we truly preparing African youth for the future or for the past? That is a question we aim to unpack today. So before we zoom in fully into today's conversation, I'd like to give the opportunity to anybody at all to unmute and say a short word of prayer so we start. At Impact Minds, we believe in the presence of God, and we believe it's because of Him that we are where we are today. Now, if you're attached, you can unmute and then pray with us. All right, so I will call on Isaac Sapon to pray with us, and then we'll just kickstart. It's a minute to 5 o'clock.
We are praying. Our most gracious and everlasting Lord, we thank you for yet giving us another day. We thank you for calling us into your presence and making this day a successful one. Lord, we pray and ask that meeting here will be a success. May it be full of impactfulness, and may you guide us and grant to us wisdom that we may be able to share among ourselves. We pray and ask this through Christ our Lord, who lives and reigns with you now and forever. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Isaac. That was a wonderful one. Thank you so much. So,
You're
as
welcome.
we have been saying, there is an urgent need for the African youth to engage in conversations as this one, to actually know where it stands when it comes to representing itself on the global stage. And so that is the reason why we are all gathered here today. And so there is a brain behind our gathering this evening. There is somebody who sought to identify this gap and is looking at how we can bridge this gap. And so that is why we are here today, looking to share ideas, looking to listen to people who have the skills and the depth, people who have experience and have worked the talk, people who have actually have not just opened books to gain the knowledge that they have actually experienced it real time. And today we are privileged to have them speaking to us and then engaging in a panel discussion for us to learn a thing or two from them. So without wasting much time, we're just going to zoom into today's conversation. Now, Impact Minds was started by a man who sought to think outside the box, a man who sought to believe that if you want to become or make a statement, you don't have to follow the norm. And so today it is my most pleasure to call on the Impact Minds Network boss, Mr. David Echesomenu, to give us his welcome address. Please let's welcome Mr. Echesomenu. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nora, for the introduction. Good evening, everyone. I'm truly excited to welcome you all to today's session. On behalf of Impact Minds Network, I want to sincerely thank our speakers and every participant joining us from different parts of the world. We are living in a time that opportunities are no longer limited by location. Today, a young person in Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, or anywhere in Africa can work for companies in the world. But the reality we face across Africa, there is talent, there is potential, there is ambition. Yet, young people still struggle to access meaningful global opportunities. Not because we lack intelligence, but because there is no access, we don't have the exposure and the right guidance. So the question is not just, are we educated, but also, are we prepared to work on the global stage? Do we have the skills? Do we have the exposure? Do we have the confidence to really compete? At Impact Minds Network, this is a challenge we are committed to solving. We are building a platform focused on equipping young Africans with practical skills, global exposure, and the right mindset to succeed anywhere in the world. Not just to get jobs, but to create impact, build meaningful careers, and also to lead. Today's session is very important to us because this is not just another event. It is a platform to have honest conversations about the future of work and what truly will take African youth to compete globally. It is also a starting point for building real solutions, programs, and opportunities that address these challenges. We are especially excited to have with us experienced professionals who have worked at global levels and understand what it takes to succeed. They will be sharing us practical insights on the skills, mindsets, and experiences needed to become truly work ready. And most importantly, this session is not just about listening. We also want to hear from you, your challenges, your aspirations, your perspective on what will truly help you to grow. Because the goal is not just to talk, but the goal is to build something that truly works. So I encourage everyone here to stay engaged, participate actively, and share your thoughts with us when we open for discussions. Your voice matters in shaping what comes next. And so once again, I want to say thank you so much for being part of this, and let's have a powerful and an impactful session. Thank you. Over to you, Nora.
Thank you so much, Mr. David Ekifamino. As you would have it, this is a man who doesn't want to stay in a primitive thinking. He wants to think outside the box and always find ways and means that we can bridge the gap and elevate the African youth. Thank you so much, Jan. So going right into it, we don't want to take much time, so we'll just go straight into our conversation today. So there are wonderful speakers, and I'm sure you have seen on the flyers, people with in-depth knowledge that they are going to bless us with their knowledge today. One person who stands out or is a keynote speaker today. So I have the privilege of welcoming this person, but before I do that, I would briefly share with you the profile of this profound person that we are talking about today. He's a global technology and strategy leader with experience across top organizations including Nokia, Vodafone, Accenture, Deloitte, GSMA, BT, and Then Digital. He currently serves as a principal network consultant at PA Consulting UK. With a strong background in telecom, consulting, and digital transformation, he brings deep insights into how technology, strategy, and information are shaping the future of work globally. At the Global Career Readiness, Glocros 2026, he is speaking on the future of work, high impact skills African youth need to compete globally. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure of welcoming Mr. Leo Whyte. Thank you so much for your presence today, sir. Please, you have the floor.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Very kind introduction. So I wanted to first just give you an introduction about me and my story. So as I was introduced, yes, my name's Leo Whyte. I am speaking to you at the moment from the UK. My parents are both from Ghana. I was born in the UK, but I obviously have very passionate links to Ghana. And I met Mr. David at the Tech for Ghana conference, and he spoke about this Impact Minds Network initiative he has. And I was really profoundly moved to be able to want to give my services and advice. So I'm really pleased that I've got the time to speak to you all. I've got, around about, it's funny saying it, 30 years of corporate experience in the UK with global companies. I believe the talent in Ghana and Africa does have, as David says, the talent and the ambition. And I really want to make sure that you become work ready. And that's a term I know very well because I do a lot of mentoring of young people in the UK. Because I remember when I was young, I didn't have those role models to look up to help you understand and decipher how you can be at your best in the workplace. So I want to use the next 20 minutes to share with you my thoughts and sort of give you my experiences, and hopefully it will help lead you all in terms of what you do with your careers, because it really truly is a global workplace, especially with the technologies that we have at the moment. Someone in Africa can be working on the same level as someone in America. It's just that the systems maybe disadvantage you, but it's all about you, and you have that ability to sort of work on the global stage. So the future of work, the truth is simple, that the future of work is not waiting for Africa, but African youth can shape it if you choose the right skills. Today, talent can come from anywhere. Opportunity, however, goes to those who are prepared, and that's what this conversation I want to have with you is about. So let me just give you a bit of insight from my perspective of the global landscape that you want to enter in. Work has changed in the last 10 years more than in the previous 50, and that's because jobs are becoming borderless. Example of that is myself. I work from home 3 times a week. 2 times a week, I might be in the office in London. I can be on projects in the UK, different parts of the UK and the world. Because as a management consultant, what do? We solve problems for clients and customers. And so a young person in Accra, being a consultant, can work for a company in London, Dubai, or Toronto without ever leaving your home, because that's the way the technology platforms today enable you to have those jobs that are borderless. Let me give you also a piece of reality. Companies now hire for skills, not just degrees. I've seen that. I was lucky. I did a degree, an engineering degree in the UK. That was a long time ago. That was 30 odd years ago. The world has changed. In the UK, for example, there are young people now who believe in and have the opportunity to do apprenticeships. Some of them don't believe in degrees. And actually, I would say that's a really good challenge for degrees in the education system. The education system needs to give work-ready people in the workplace. And I sometimes think that some degrees don't do that. So I'm not saying don't do a degree, but treat that decision as a degree like almost a business case. You're going to spend money, you're going to spend time. What's the return you get on that? And make sure you choose a degree that gives you really tangible skills, not just theory, tangible skills that from the minute you graduate, you're valuable to an employer or to yourself if you want to start your own business. And that's another avenue you can go down. AI and automation is transforming industries. It's creating new opportunities, but you have to be able to adapt. But the great thing is, Africa has the youngest population in the world. This gives you a competitive advantage because companies want young people. You are the future. So the world's not lowering its standards, but you must raise your skills. Okay, so that's first about the global landscape. What are the skills that matter? In my opinion, digital and technology skills are really important. They're the new global currency. So things like software engineering, data analysis, data science, cybersecurity, cloud computing, being literate, and also very useful in using AI and product design as well. But you don't need to become a world-class programmer overnight, but you need to understand how to use these tools in your toolbox, because tech is the new language of global opportunity for you, right? So I see it in my workplace, big fear in management consulting about what AI could do. Colleagues I speak to in London thinking that maybe they don't have much of a career because AI will take their jobs. I think that's the wrong way. AI is a tool, embrace it, use it to your benefit so you can be better than the next person. Okay, and I think there's another set of skills that's really important that, some of these skills I didn't have the opportunity to sort of grapple with, but you do, and that's entrepreneurial and problem-solving skills. So Africa's biggest opportunities lies in solving Africa's problems. So skills like design thinking, creativity, having basic financial literacy, ability to test ideas quickly and turning problems into opportunities. So a bit about me, I studied engineering, and engineering, you didn't do much finance. So in midway in my career, probably I graduated in 2018, I did an MBA while I was working because I wanted to get those basic skills to complement my engineering skills. So think about becoming, I call it T-shaped, having really broad skills across different areas, even outside of technology, but then having depth in one area. So try and make sure you've got a T-shaped profile. And even if you never start a business, employers want people to think like entrepreneurs, people who take initiative, not instructions. So for example, in consulting, I am a principal consultant at the moment. I have ambitions to get to the next level, which is a managing consultant. And the case that I have to put before management is, how can I grow the business? So they want that entrepreneurial skills within a formal corporate environment, because they want growth. Every company in the world is desperate for growth at the moment. So if you've got entrepreneurial ideas, you don't have to start your own company. You can be an entrepreneur within an existing corporate. One set of skills that I think I've really embraced and I think is really important, I really want to get it over to you, is communication and collaboration skills. This is where sometimes young people like yourselves underestimate yourselves. What you need is clear writing. What you need as well is confident speaking. When I started as a graduate, I used to get nervous and not present, and the thought of presenting to a lot of people would scare me overnight and I wouldn't sleep very well. Then when I was at the GSMA, I had a role where I was always speaking, because it's the trade association that brings the whole mobile industry together. And that made confident speaking to me second nature. So practice, only by practice you get to make it second nature, and you won't worry about it, and then it becomes part of your skills. Have cross-cultural communication, the ability to not only talk with Africans, but other people with different cultures, understand where they come from as well. Try to be empathetic and think about how they might be feeling. That's a really good soft skill. Team working in virtual environments, really important. As I said, it's borderless now. And a big one that I want you all to sort of focus on, that is a really important skill that's very underplayed: emotional intelligence. Not classic intelligence, but emotional intelligence, which is that ability to know how people think and work with others in a really intelligent way. So you can be brilliant in the workplace, but if you can't communicate your value, the world won't see it, right? So this is why the communication is really important. Another set of skills that I think is absolutely critical is adaptability and continuous learning. In consulting, I always have to be adaptable because I go on lots of different projects with lots of different challenges. I've had continuous learning because, as I said, I started with an engineering degree that I finished in '94, a long time ago, I know. But then I went back to school, to Henley Business School, to do an MBA. And I'm always learning at work. I kind of see every day is a school day, is a saying that we have in the UK. So always be hungry for learning, hungry to learn new things. And that will make you, it'll make your career future proof as well. You won't be stuck in the old ways. The job you start with will not be the job you retire with. That used to be what it was like when I graduated. Forget that. As you know from the introduction, I've had many jobs, worked across many different companies. In the early days, some people frowned at it. They said, Leo, you don't stay anywhere. But actually, it's given me that adaptability to learn different things in different companies, in different parts of the value chain of digital, that enables me then to be very valuable to PA Consulting. So I've got that adaptability. So have the curiosity, always looking for new things. Have an ability to reskill yourself. Don't just class yourself as data analysis. Go and do project management. Go and do something else. Be comfortable with change. As humans, we're not actually comfortable with change. It kind of baked into us, but try and change as much as you can to get comfortable with it. And another two set of words that are very important: have a growth mindset to your career, not about shrinking mindset, growth mindset, always wanting to better yourself. So the most successful people in the future will be the ones that, not who know the most, but who can learn the fastest. And that's what I pride myself on being. I never want to be the most cleverest person in the room, but I will learn quickly, and that curiosity and that adaptability is great. Another set of skills that's important: be global citizens. If you want to compete globally, you've got to behave globally. So that means you've got to have professionalism, you've got to have cultural awareness outside of Africa, you've got to have digital etiquette, you've got to be ethical as well in what you do. And I believe ethical leadership is really important. And another important skill is networking. Networking is not just who you know, it's who knows what you can do, right? So make sure that kind of comes across in your networking as well. So what do I think the young of Africa need to do differently? This is where I want to challenge you all on the call. I want you to stop waiting for perfect conditions. Start with what you have. I started as just a lowly engineering graduate, and I'm so blessed with the career that I've had. So you've got to stop waiting for those perfect conditions. You'll never have the perfect opportunity or the perfect chance to do something. Sometimes you've got to take a chance when you only have bits of information. So start with what you've got. Build a portfolio, not just a CV, and show your work to others. The CV is just your front door window. The portfolio is really all the different things that you've done. use online learning. You've got so many opportunities as the young now. I entered the workforce before the internet, right? And I was part of the industry that built the mobile industry the way it is today. Now you've got so many opportunities and free courses. You just have a wealth of information. So the world's best course is accessible, and you should grab that. Join communities, find mentors. They're very important. They will guide you along the way. Collaborate with others. Don't just be in your own bubble. Look to work with others. Start small projects to demonstrate your initiative, and then have that mindset of competing globally, not just locally. And you don't need permission to start. You just need commitment. All right. So that's kind of the key things I want to get across. But I want to kind of step back and also say, what must Ghana and Africa do to support you? This is where I think governments are very important, and schools are very important, and parents are really important, is that we need to build a better digital infrastructure, because that's what we have in the UK. And I think once we have that in Africa, that will be great. I know there are issues with affordable internet. That has to be solved as well. We need to modernize education. We need support for innovation. And we need policies really that enable remote work and global freelancing. So those are things that I think others in Africa need to do. But once those are in place, I think you're in a great position. But as I said, you don't need to wait for perfection. You can still start now. So don't pause your progress, but keep pushing for those kind of changes. So I wanted to kind of leave you with a thought, which is the future work is not about where you're born, it's about what you can do, right? And that's what I've seen in my career. My my parents are humble, they've worked hard, but now I'm working in a company where there are people of different classes and different skill sets. And if I think back, I'm a different person to where I was, but I don't forget where I've come from. So it's not about where you're born, it's what you can do. So have that mindset, and you can do really great things when you're equipped with the right skills. Okay. So hopefully that's useful to you in terms of, my journey and my thoughts and my advice. I also, one of the really important things for me is that I do a lot in giving back. And I give back through my former university. I give back also with a charity that I'm a trustee of called Museum of Diversity. And I mentioned this to David before the call. I wanted to basically share with you a website that we've developed, and hopefully you can see. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you can see my screen in a minute. Hope the technology works. So we have a let me take a step back. It's an initiative to build a bricks and mortar museum. And I got to work to bring people into this charity. My thought was that in the modern world, we try to use digital technologies. And so this has now been born as a virtual museum. And you may be thinking, Leo, what's a museum got to do with skills in the workplace? I wanted to just show you the potential of what it can do. And I wanted to really have a discussion, because I think it could be something that is useful. So it provides this platform that we could use, in essence, to provide a platform to give you the skills, test the skills that you would need to be competitive in the global workplace. So I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts, get everyone's thoughts on the call. And I'm just going to show this. This picture just shows a view of someone taking a museum tour through the virtual reality technology. So they can do this on a mobile device, they can do it on a computer, they could do it with a VR headset. But I just wondered what people thought on the call of how this technology could help you be work ready. Could we use this to create scenarios in the workplace where you could test your skills, use to use certain skills? So I wanted to kind of finish my talk with a question to you all, which is, do you think technologies like these could be useful? And I don't think we've got time on this call to talk about it, but potentially then I could work with David to see if we set up a working group to see how we could do something of value for all those on the call and youth in Africa around being work ready. So I just wanted to show it here. I guess I don't know how we want to interact with those on online, but I think what I'll do is I'll leave it there. Please feedback through the comments on this call as to whether you think this is a good initiative, and I guess if we see a positive set of feedback from you all, then we can follow this up. But this is just an example of using these borderless technologies to help you be work ready. Okay, so I hope that was useful in terms of my talk. I really believe you do have the talent and the ambition, and I really believe you can be work ready. I'm happy to help any of you and provide support. And I think this is a fantastic initiative that David has developed. Take that advice that I've given you. Doesn't matter where you're born, you can really do a lot of great stuff and just start from where you are at the moment. And that, I think, is the end for me. So I don't know if people wanted to ask questions.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Whyte. That was so profound. That was insightful. You said a lot of things, and personally, I think you said a lot of things that really touched me. And one thing I think I'm gonna go with is the fact that we shouldn't wait for perfection. A lot of times we are held back. We want to make sure that we have everything on track before we set out to do even the tiniest thing. So we're so grateful for such a presentation, an in-depth one as that. Thank you so much. At this point, we're going to allow a question or two, and then we'll get right into it. So if you have a question, please put up your hand first of all, and then you'll be asked to speak. Okay, so I see Xavier has a question, and then Isaac. So Xavier, can you unmute and then ask your question?
Yeah, hello.
Hi.
My question is that my first question goes to you, Prof. It seems you are fast, and also sometimes we don't get some of your words right, whether you are speaking in slangs or something like that. And also, I want to ask, I don't know when I want to ask, as a young person or as a youth, what can you do to scale employment on them? Nowadays, even online, we find it difficult to get jobs. And I now, sorry for my language, we all strongly believe that nowadays people help those they know, or those who choose to know you. So my problem is that what do we do to get jobs on time after graduation?
Good question. Very good question. Um, I think, you hit the nail on the head. My experience, especially as I've been longer in my career, is that networking is so critical. It's about human relationships with jobs. So it is very hard, I think, to get a job purely online because you don't get that ability to build a relationship. And it is about who you know, which makes it really hard, right? Because if you don't know anyone, then how do you start? But as I said before, I think don't wait for the perfect condition. I mean, there are opportunities to network in your village, in your cities nearby. Search out those events, search out those people, try and work out how you can give them something back in return for 10, 15, 30 minutes of their time. and build it slowly and be realistic. But it really is difficult, you know, and some of it's a bit of luck. I was lucky with my first graduate job. It was at a time of growth in the UK. Now it's not. So it is about networking. So yeah, you know, use everything at your disposal. Use all the people that you know to help you with introductions. Go out there and be bold and make those introductions. Volunteer. Um, Go to networking events. Just try whatever you can. There is no um, magic formula, right? You go to things not really thinking you're going to get anything from them, but those events will be the things that actually give you something. So I don't know how to. So it's you know, because humans are unpredictable in that sense. So I would just say put a lot of effort into networking. It is about who you know. I think online is very, very difficult because you have to try and differentiate yourself when it's very difficult on online to do that. But it is about people and it's about relationships. So I would say if you have a choice, focus on human contact, human relationships rather than online. I know it doesn't answer it, but yeah, it is one of the things that I reflect on because I joined PA, for example, through a personal relationship, and I found trying to go for jobs online near impossible. So, and that's for me who's very experienced, right? And it shows you there's something broken, I think, with the online system of finding jobs, but the human system is not broken. If someone knows you, trusts you, has worked with you, or has someone who's vouched for you before, they will give you the opportunity. So hopefully it helps.
We hope and help. Thank you so much, Mr. Leo White. Celia, I hope your question has been answered. So we'll give the opportunity to Isaac Sapon. Isaac, kindly unmute and ask your question.
Good evening, Mr. Dr. Leo White. I'm sorry.
Hi.
Okay. Thank you very much for the submission. It's really been impactful. But my question is, you did give in your submission, you made mention of some AI automations and other platforms where we can learn these digital interactions. But you see, the thing is of late, it has become that getting access to these AI automations comes really at a cost, and the cost of paying for these services are really, really, really high. And sometimes you would want to have, you would might even have the edge to learn, but sometimes going for these applications and all that, as I said initially, come at a cost. So what do we do in such situations or in such times where we find ourselves? Like, what do you do? Because you might even go in for, you might even pay for some and you end up being scammed. So with these situations that we find ourselves as young people, what do we do?
Good question. Yeah, good question. Isaac, what would I do if I was you? I would the great thing you have nowadays is open source. So I would say, you know, try and leverage open source, which I know is free. Um, if you're at university, leverage what the university has. But it is a barrier, and I will make no, you know, I won't be sort of disconnected from reality. Yeah, cost is a barrier to some of these AI automation tools. So yeah, I would say, you know, you can still start from the free tools and the open source tools you've got, build credibility, and try and be ingenious about how you get access to these tools with costs. And obviously, when you don't have the money, you need to be ingenious. You know, I don't know. Um, Try to find someone who has access, who's willing to share some time with you with access to those tools. Try to go to university and see if the university has licenses or other um, associations that you can use. But I know that's all at the edges, and I know it might not address you know, what you need to do. But yeah, that is a reality that you know, I can't change overnight. But yeah, just exhaust and try and be creative. And it's a problem, right? So try and be a problem solver. So the problem is you want access to AI automation tools, you don't have the money. Think of the different options and try and be creative around that. But yeah, I know that money and access is a problem. So yeah, you have to try and be creative and try and think also as well, Isaac, sideways, right? So what I mean by that is if AI automation has very significant cost barriers, are there other digital tools that have lower cost barriers that would be useful, right? And this is a good example of my career. Don't just, so you see a problem in front of you, try and think sideways of different ways to get around the problem that might change your course, but are taking you in the right direction, right? Um, so hopefully that's been helpful.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much for the questions. In the interest of time, we would like to go on and then introduce our second speaker. Thank you so much, Seb. We're so grateful to have you on this call. So without wasting much time, we're going on this call. So without wasting much time, we're going on this call. So without wasting much time, we're going on this call. Okay. So thanks for the feedback. Our next speaker, an award-winning UX strategist and the senior user experience researcher at Year Up, a nationally recognized workforce development organization. She's an active member of the Downtown Orlando UX, POUX Ladies That UX, and the American Counseling Association, ACA. She brings 7 years of experience designing research in user experience, experimental psychology, and neuroscience, as evidenced by the 10 peer-reviewed publications, which together have been cited over 2,000 times. 30 plus academic and industry conference presentations, and a highly rated and award-winning teaching record. Lastly, she is a licensed therapist, mental health advocate, and health equity champion. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Dr. Leah Herbert. Thank you so much, ma'am. Yes, we have the floor.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon on our end on the East Coast. Extremely excited to be here. First of all, can everyone give me a thumbs up? Can you hear and see me clearly?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can
Perfect,
see you
perfect.
clearly.
Awesome, awesome. And I want to also give a great thanks to David as well, to be invited to this. The great work at Impact Minds is not something I take lightly. And in the US, it is Black History Month. So you can imagine the excitement I have to be, giving back to such a rich in mind and thought community, and to see 50 plus people on this call is so beautiful. So really excited to share some really great tips today. The 2 favors that I asked today is for you guys to call in response. So I have a few fun things on my slides. Also, please feel free to follow me on LinkedIn. I'll have my LinkedIn in the chat. Myself and my colleague, Dr. Wright, who will be going after me. We do AI skills and career readiness workshops with universities, associations, and businesses. And we'd love to help your community and your different associations and universities. So with that said, I will begin. I will be sharing my screen. And if you could see my screen, let me know. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay,
Yes,
perfect. Okay, awesome. And I'll put a timer on. I know I have 10 minutes, but I like to talk. So but I promise I'll stay under. Yeah. So today we'll be talking about job trends for global youth, and I'm really excited to be here. You guys heard the bio already, so really excited to go on and get started. So the first part I wanted to talk about is the future of work. My background as a lead senior analyst, I work for a very large national nonprofit. I am in the weeds of the data. And we know from the World Economic Forum that 39% of your degree skills will be obsolete by 2030. Now, this is huge. 2030 is in 5 years. As someone that was a bio STEM girl and now I'm in IT, so much things have changed incredibly fast, and we need to be ready, as my great colleague Leo said, to be future proof, right? And I loved the frame he used, globally competitive. So, what are some things that we can do? We know from the World Economic Forum that employers rank analytical thinking, which is our ability to think really deeply and not just restate our research, but tell the data, storytelling behind it. What does this mean for the business? So something I do in my job is I tell the data story. How does it save money, save time, make money? I'd write that down. How does it save money, save time, make money? Those are the key metrics that businesses really care about. Next, resilience. Are you able to bounce back from difficulties? Right now in the US, we have massive layoffs. It's a very stressful time economically. Do you have the resilience to be competitive, to bounce back when there's drama at work? Do you keep above the fray? Really great skill to have. And then last but not least, digital literacy above technical knowledge. So being aware of AI ethics, AI governance, what does it take for a business to be ready in that area? Another tip I give to my mentees is not just knowing the tools. ChatGPT, Claude, everybody knows that. If you could be the best AI subject matter expertise in your domain area, you will always have a job. I repeat, if you could be the best domain expert of AI in your domain area, you will always have a job. My area is IT, UX research, as well as psychology. I am pretty strong. I'll even say I'm a power user of AI in that area. The jobs come to me. I repeat, the jobs come to me. I have recruiters on my inbox, right? And that has happened through networking, and that has happened through some other tips. And lastly, in the global world, some of the tips that we can take, and I think Leo, I think you saw my slides beforehand because you have a lot of similarities, but initiative over instructions, really huge. Value creation being so important, right? Build in public. A lot of you guys are in school. Do your projects and do a cute summary on LinkedIn. Do your projects and do a YouTube video and map us through the process, right? Building in public, visibility is key. And now we're even getting to the age of digital currency being a key as well. The next part I want to talk about is youth development models. I won't spend too much time on here because I know you guys want the good stuff. How can I get a job? How can I make money? How can I save time? So the first thing in terms of making money and saving time is really thinking about your own cultural intelligence. A lot of times as Black and brown youth, we're kind of taught to silence ourselves. In my case, I talk white, you're not Black enough, you sound to, all these things that come up to fray, but stand in your power, right? We all have different things we bring to the plate and we bring to organizations, and tell that story. I always say I have uppercase version of Leia, professional, and I have a lowercase version of Leia. What's the lowercase version of you that would make your coworkers want to take you out for lunch? What's the lowercase version of you that will keep you protected from a layoff? Think about those unique eccentricities that make you powerful and dynamic. Number two, vocational training. We get this from school. These are specific technical hard skills. I agree with what Leo mentioned, really focusing on specific technicalities, skills that will lead to outcomes, projects. And a tip I give to my mentees: look at 10 job descriptions in area you want to work in, copy all of them, run it through AI. What are the top hard skills, soft skills? What projects are they looking for? And use that to build your career map. And then last but not least, mentorship programs and coaching, right? Can someone put coaching in the chat? Coaching. I would say coaching is the cheat code. This is the cheat code. Impact Minds is the cheat code. Your network is the cheat code. Conferences, associations, all these things are the cheat code. But you have to do the other end, which is application. And then next, what employers value most? We mentioned earlier about analytical thinking, but I also want you guys to think very broad-minded. I think Leo did such a good job. The career you start with won't be the career you retire with, right? So think about some fast-growing industries, AI, cybersecurity, technological literacy. I'd even go as far to say healthcare as well, especially in the US. I have a friend right now. She's an Epic analyst, which is our IT technology for all our healthcare systems in the US. If you can do that and you don't need a college degree, you just kind of need some certifications, you will always have a job. So really think about those different industries. Additionally, another tip I would give you guys is increase your hybrid stacks. So I'm fully remote, but I also had worked hybrid for a little bit of time. So being able to be really strong presence on Zoom. You guys see, I'm just professional, right? I'm smiling, I'm laughing, I'm making jokes. All those things can be the difference between hired and fired. Next, think about your industry aligned micro credentials. This is where your LinkedIn informational interviewing comes to hand. You should be watching YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, day in the life videos. I always tell my mentees, change your algorithm. We all love the shade room. We all love the drama. We all love, I know me. I love is blind. That's my guilty pleasure right now. But my feed is very educational. When you go on these social media, it shouldn't just be for drama and different things. You should be learning. And then next, I would lastly add, unpopular opinion, internships and past collaborations matter. Do not sleep on that, whether it's free or unpaid. People don't ever ask, was your internship paid? Number one. And number two, don't underestimate the value of working with a big brand. I repeat, don't underestimate the value of working for a big brand. I know people that were help desk at Google and now they have ex Google on their resume, right? No one asks if you were the janitor. No one asks if you were the CEO, right? There's a little bit of a value at working at a well-known company, having that on your stack, having that on your resume. So I just wanted to name that piece. And last but not least, as we get down to the 2-minute mark, what does aligning education with industry needs look like? The first thing I'll highly suggest is work-based learning. So in the US, this is kind of your internships. For myself and Dr. Wright, our clinical rotations, our mentorships. In higher ed, we also call this service, right? It's all the different projects that we do to work and get things done. And I would add that like work-based learning really helps lift from intern to hired. And I would also earn as you build. Earn as you build. You can make a lot of things portfolio projects. I literally just had my old boss reach out to me. She was like, oh, you did AI research for that other team. Can you rewrite your resume? Put that AI research at the top. I have a second job for you. Literally this morning. You know, so it goes back to what was mentioned. It's not who you know, but it's also who knows you. And I'm very, 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 very visible on LinkedIn. That's actually how me and David met. And I build in public. I show my research highlights. I show when it fails. I show lesson learns. I show when I'm talking at a conference. I posted this all over my social media and it makes for good conversation. You're in the algorithm. And most importantly, recruiters know who you are, right? And you want to move from recruiters following you on LinkedIn to texting you. You want to move from recruiters following you and liking your stuff to calling you. Hey, I have this job. You're interested? Do you want it? And that's the power of brand building. And last but not least, I heard you guys earlier mention networking. Some tips I would give is, if possible, I know cars, transportation, you know, all these things, a lot of us in school, so it's hard to do this, but 1 or 2 networking events a month can be very helpful. I would also say study associations, conferences, and thought leaders in your area, right? In your area. When I think about the interns and the young professionals that impress me, it's the ones that are already having conversations I'm already having, right? So think about that factor as well. And last but not least, do not underestimate social media. All right. Some of us have Twitter, X, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. Do not underestimate those social media branches, and feel free to professionally brand yourself. Feel free to show your projects, show your favorite tools, show your favorite coding programs, do a collaboration with another content creator. Now more than ever, people like people that are visible, and that's just a trend I'm seeing in the field. And I am done. I'm just going to end on let's elevate learning and earning. As I mentioned before, myself and Dr. Wright, we do these workshops all the time, and there's so much more we can go into and dig in. And if you're interested, please feel free to email us. We love working with universities, nonprofits, business arms, lunch and learns, and we just love supporting the youth of tomorrow. So I'll now take it for questions, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Heather. That was so good. That was so fun. That was so precise. So at this point, we're going to give the opportunity to people, our participants, if you have any question for Dr. Heather. Okay, so there are no questions. All right. Okay. So Precious, kindly unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I could hear you.
Okay, thank you so much for the talk. It was very insightful. I have a question. I'm currently studying my master's in medical physics, actually, and my final year, which starts in August, is basically going to be research and my internship. But my question is, I'm particularly from Zimbabwe, and my concern is it's mainly in the medical field. And our systems and structures within Africa, when it comes to the medical side, it's not all those that are actually properly set up and stuff like that. So in my case, you spoke about, making yourself valuable even before you finish and all that. So my question is, how would I be able to actually really make myself valuable in the practical sense as a medical physicist?
Great question. I would say don't undervalue yourself. Your knowledge is powerful, is profitable. And I would also say transferable skills are king. So I would just start early. As I said before, get those 10 job descriptions in that future job that you want. Start getting in on what are the hard skills I need to learn from this internship. What are the soft skills? What projects could they put me on? I would also start doing some really strong networking on LinkedIn. Hey, I'm a physicist. I'm doing an internship with a hospital in Zimbabwe, and I'm hoping to do X, Y, and Z. And maybe a cross collaboration opportunity, who knows? But I think your knowledge is valuable. I would just pay attention to your transferable skills and pay attention to what the market needs, not what you want, what the market needs. There's things I want, but the market needs this skill that I have, right? So keep that in mind, and I think you'll be smooth sailing.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Madam,
Thank you so much. Anybody else with a question?
Yes, madam.
All right, Xavier, kindly speak.
Thank you, Dr. Leah. My question is that myself, I am a master's student, and currently I'll be completing next year, I guess. And I wish to work with some of the United States countries. But from your speech, I can remember that you said we should be connected or should link ourselves to connections. What can I do, or what may I do to be connected? So in case I'm done with my master's, I'll be employed in any of the United States.
Yeah, I think it's definitely doable. I would just say, like what I mentioned before, think backwards, keep your end goal in mind, right? You want to work with US Congress. I would get a little bit more specific. What area in Congress? What state? What bills are you interested in? What policy do you want to delve into? I would start following and connecting and having coffee chats or informational sessions with people that work in Congress. And don't underestimate, everyone from the intern to the receptionist is valuable. In the US economy, receptionists move the needle. Executive assistants move the needle. You can get in a lot further sometimes with an assistant than you can get even with the congressperson. So I would keep that in mind. And I would just stay on the forefront of what is needed. As of now in the United States, it's heavy AI, tariff control, AI governance, some could say creative strategists. Those are just some things that are rising up, but stay on cue to what the market needs. Build in public, get that strong network, and I would say work backwards. And also start now, kind of like what Leo mentioned. Maybe it's an internship, maybe it's a few coffee chats a week. The market's competitive, the market's competitive. And in the States, we have private school, public school, and the private school kids are like doing backflips, So I would just say brainstorm ideas, get a mentor, get a coach, and start doing that outreach in that specific Congress and policy area you're interested in.
All right, Xavier, and I hope that settles it for you. Thank you so much, Dr. Herbert. So, if you are just thinking of going off the call, then I tell you that this is the voice decision you're going to be making, because we are getting into the aspect where they are going to have a discussion, a panel discussion. And so I bet you wouldn't want to miss out on that. But before then, we have one more speaker who is ready to give us her experience in her field of work as well. So let me just disclose who the speaker is. All right. So Dr. Galaxina Wright is a professor, licensed mental health counselor, LMHC FL, and a national certified counselor, NCC. Dr. Wright's primary research focus is exploring career development barriers among historically marginalized populations, example, foster youth, BIPOC populations. We are talking about the Blacks and other people, marginalized groups, low socioeconomic status communities, and what have you. She has worked and impacted community across Florida and Virginia, and has collaborated with industry leaders such as Career Source, Tahoe Truckee Foundation, and Florida Counseling Association. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Dr. Galaxina Wright. Thank you so much, Doug. You have the floor now.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that introduction, and a quick kudos for saying my name correctly. I usually get a lot of challenges with my first name, so thank you so much for that. Before I get started, I'm just putting my LinkedIn in the chat as well. I will have to go shortly after I present for a meeting, but definitely am open to answering any questions that you may have. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and kind of pick up where Dr. Herbert left off. Can everyone see my screen okay? Just a quick thumbs up.
Yeah,
Yes,
we
we
can see
can.
your screen.
Perfect.
And you're
Thanks
clear.
so nice. Thank you so much. So one of the things to kind of be aware of as you're, moving forward with your career development is understanding where the industry is going. And I think this is really important because one of the things I always tell my students at the university is that you do have to remain versatile, as many of our speakers have already shared, right? So thinking about not only what you're currently in school for, maybe what you're thinking about going to school for, but also how could you bridge that with something such as tech, healthcare, hospitality, or logistics. So I think Dr. Whyte gave us a great example, right, of getting his MBA while he was in school to pair that with engineering, right? So think about those ways of how you can perhaps connect in some of these fields. Myself and Dr. Herbert, we primarily started off with counseling. And so, going forward in our master's degree, we were focused on counseling and building a practice off of that. However, as time changed and we saw that the needs were changing, we got more into teaching and consulting. And so focusing a lot more on other fields of healthcare, not just within counseling. So again, being more future focused and thinking about how can the profession that you're currently in expand. And one of the things that I always tell clients and students is that we can now use AI to kind of help us with that, right? I'm constantly looking in AI to see how I can maybe bridge some gaps or pair myself and my current skills with other industries. So that's something that you can do as well. So when we think about career pathways, these are some things that we just want to kind of be aware of and kind of navigating the routes of success. The first is entry level positions. And I think that in my experience, I've gotten a lot of flack from people about entry level experience, right? We all have to start somewhere though, right? And I think kind of to what Dr. Herbert was saying as well too, this is a perfect way when you're getting that entry level position to build networks and then also focus on how you can make yourself marketable in the future, right? And so definitely want to make sure that we're not taking for granted the opportunities that we can get in entry level experience. I'll also just use my husband and partner as an example. He transitioned out of the military and was going to school. And while he was in school, he also did an internship, which I'll talk about shortly here. And although the internship didn't pay very much in the beginning, he gained a lot of skills. He was able to build a network, and especially because he was transitioning into a completely different field than he was before, it was really important that he was in that entry level position in order to gain the skills, the knowledge, and everything that he needed for that field. So definitely want to make sure that we're optimizing those entry level positions. As we start thinking about mid-career, that's once we've gained those initial skills and experiences, and we're really starting to move towards being more an initiative, right? And so kind of to what Dr. Herbert was saying earlier as well, too, it's not just about being able to take direction, right? But showing that initiative, right? And this is something that employers look for. They did a survey within the US to think about what exactly do employers look for and what's the number one thing that employers want within the candidates that they seek. And what they saw was initiative, right? And then also the thing that Dr. Whyte talked about is soft skills, customer service skills, being able to engage with people. Everybody wants to be able to work with somebody that they could grab a cup of coffee with, right? And so really thinking about that as you're entering mid-career of not just being able to take instruction, but also take initiative into what is the next thing, right? Right now, AI is a really big thing in the US, but we have people on two different sides, people that completely ignore it and feel like it's a danger and it's a threat to our future, and others that really embrace it, right? And so trying to get ahead of it is really important and making sure that we are incorporating it within our career. And then another thing to think about is entrepreneurship, right? And so thinking about, again, whatever your field is that you're planning to go into, also think about what you can do outside of that field, right? That would help you with entrepreneurship. And so this might think about, potentially coaching or consulting. Once you become that expert within your field, thinking about how you can expand it in those ways. And so we really want to make sure, as we're connecting that learning to earning, as Dr. Herbert talked about, we don't want to wait to graduate, to monetize or gain experience, right? There are so many ways that you can market yourself now, even as you're still getting within the field. And so that's something to really think about and be strategic with, right? Of how can you monetize what you're doing now? So again, one of the biggest things that I'll take away here, I've got a couple of bullets, but one of the biggest things I want you to think about is remote project collaborations. Dr. Herbert and Dr. Whyte talked about how they were able to connect on LinkedIn, right? And so even though there's a lot of in-person opportunities with our field, you also want to make sure, like Dr. Herbert said, to connect in those social media areas. The other thing, just thinking about this organization, right, of like global impact. That's also a skill, right? Being able to say that you're connecting and being able to use your skills internationally is a skill set in itself. So definitely try your best to feel or figure out what type of social media platform you want to incorporate. Right now, we say LinkedIn a lot because it's the number one spot still for jobs and networking when it comes to our career development. There are other platforms as well too that are more social, but that's one thing to think about. And as you're also thinking about engaging, like Dr. Herbert said, you want to be engaged in your platform. So I have a lot of students that make a LinkedIn, they put, their education or their experience, and then that's it. They don't engage, they don't post. And so it's hard to build those connections, right? So it's not enough to just initiate and create a profile, but really making sure that we're interacting and building those connections. And, like was said earlier, no gain is too small, right? Or too big for you to post about. Some of the things that we post about are things like this, the presentations that we do. I had a student recently that got accepted into a doc program, right? And so I posted about that. So finding ways to engage so that you can market the skills that you have while you're in your program. And so what you're doing essentially is you're building the proof of work before graduation. And again, going back to what employers look for, they want somebody with those experiences. The degree is one thing, right? And that's the technical part. But really, what's looked for is those internships, those experiences. And even if it's not paid right away, you want to view it as investing in your future, right? Just like if we think about monetary investment, we're putting money away for later that will hopefully increase and help us to gain later. And it's the same thing when we're thinking about our building our skills while we're still in the program. Oops, I went a little fast. I've got one more slide. So some final recommendations for success is first to invest in language skills to enhance opportunities. Here in the US, this is a really, really big skill, right? Being able to speak in different languages. That's important because we have different individuals from all backgrounds here. And so if you can, while you're again in your program, thinking about this as a way of investing as well too. And then again, just to reiterate, seeking practical experience early in your career. I heard someone earlier ask a question in terms of gaining experience remotely. And sometimes it's difficult, but if you can, I find that even asking someone for an informational interview is really, really helpful, right? When you're trying to get your start into the field or you're trying to branch out. And so what that could look like is reaching out to someone to say, hey, I really like how you have taken an interest in AI and I appreciate your research in AI. Could I have a 30-minute informational interview with you to talk more about your skills and some of the questions that I have? And so that's a way of like building your network as well as getting that mentorship, even if it's in a virtual way as opposed to in person. And then finally, just building connections within industry communities for support. Can't say it enough, and I think Dr. Whyte shared this as well too. It's not just about who you know, but it's about who knows you. So going back to that LinkedIn, that's why it's so important to really market yourself and finding ways that you can market your skills so that way other people can get to know you. Dr. Herbert gave some great examples about how people now know her work to where they seek her out for opportunities based off of the impact that she's made. So again, don't be afraid to put yourself out there as you're gaining these practical skills. Also market it as you're making yourself known in these platforms. So again, want to thank you so much for your time. I think I have time to take one question if possible, if someone does have a question, and then I will head out. But again, my LinkedIn is in the chat for you all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wright. I mean, you've said basically everything. You've spoken about networking. It's very essential that African youth would hop onto that and then make the most out of it. I mean, that's how come a lot of people are making beautiful things like what we see Mr. David do today. His networking is speaking to people that normally he wouldn't get the opportunity to meet them anywhere. He's utilizing the opportunity he's getting by going after them on social media and trying to get the best out of them. We shouldn't just hop onto social media just to make the fun of it and then get more likes and interaction from people, and that is it. No, it's about time we think about how we can actually utilize social media to our benefit and making us also stand out in the global stage. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let me see if there is any hand raised. Okay, so we do not have any question for Dr. Galactina. I assume that we are good with her presentation. Okay, so we'll go straight into the second aspect of our conversation today. We're going to talk, we have a set of questions for our speakers. We're going to ask them briefly about some questions and then they'll give us their brief responses and then we call it a day. Okay, so in no particular order. Okay, so the questions. So this can go to all our speakers. All our speakers can actually attempt these questions and then we will get right into it. I'm so sorry about that. I just want to get the question and we'll just roll. All right, thank you so much for your patience. Thank you so much. So the first question, our first panel question. So anybody at all can attempt it. All right. So the very first question says, from my experience, and this goes to the speakers, from my experience, what are the biggest gaps preventing young Africans from becoming work ready in the global job market? What is our biggest gap preventing young Africans from becoming work ready in the global job market?
I could start real quickly for that one. I think it is changing. I think Leo brought up a good point with like African countries being on the younger side and that being a huge leverage. So I think that's good. But I'll put his name in the chat. I highly recommend you guys following John Hope Bryant. He talks a lot about American economies, African country economies, a lot about elevating your career, elevating your economic status. and he says an issue he sees with in a lot of African countries with youth and things of that nature is actually more of a confidence thing. You guys have the competencies. And I could even, I mean, I work in IT. We do hire a lot of external folks on our engineering side. And technical skills, check. Competencies, check. I think confidence that, the portfolio piece, the storytelling, the I think that's a area of continuous growth and getting comfortable in. So I would say, that inner confidence, believing, even if you do get an interview and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have enough experience, I don't have all the qualifications, still do the interview. If you got the interview, you're qualified. Now the question is, can we work with you? You know? So that's something I've kind of seen in my mentees, both in African countries, in the US, but I'll start off with that.
I'll take over from where Leah just answered. I thought it was spot on. Yeah, so I think I don't know. I don't think there are many gaps, right? I think there's a bit of the bit about confidence is important. It's all in the head. It's all in your mind. I work with a lot of people that are very confident in the workplace that have very little experience, and they've been brought up in that way. So I think us Brits are very reserved, but I think globally we can't be. So I think confidence is a big thing. Taking chances that you might feel you're unqualified for. If you don't try, you don't learn. So I think there are gaps, but there's nothing that I could say is a gap for African youth that's different to any other part of the world. So experience, yeah. But young people in the UK have the same issues. So that's a really hard question to answer. There are gaps. I don't think they're any different, but a lot of it is mind over matter.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I think Dr. Galaxina is unfortunately not with us at this point. So we'll leave it with our two speakers for now. So there is a question that actually directly links with the second question. So the question in the chat box reads, if you were advising a young graduate today, what three things would you recommend they start building immediately to remain relevant in the global job market? And this is coming from Entry Wisdom. So I think Dr. Herbert can start with this. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so happy we came to this question. I was answering it in the chat. I think the first one is getting clear on what problems do you solve for a business. And that metric I shared earlier, how you save time, save money, make money, and then funneling down that depending on, that might look different for engineer, that looks very different for an analyst, that looks very different for a professor, and so on and so forth. But getting really clear on what you solve, and starting small, like solving one thing really well, quickly and well, high quality, being effective, highly employable. That will open so many doors. And you start also getting the conversation of intern versus master because you're getting comfortable solving the problem. The second thing, I think a strong professional brand. I know Leo mentioned the Brits being more on the reserve side, but a trend I'm seeing, a little bit about the company I work for. We're a large nonprofit. We're in the US. We work in 40 of the 50 states. We job train 18 to 29-year-olds. They get matched with Fortune 500 companies and they go off to live really great lives. Our partners include JP Morgan, Deloitte, Bain Group, Airbnb, Amazon. I've got to work with the best of them. It's humbled me, it's saddened me, it's brought a lot of interesting feelings and working with, the titans of industry in the US. But something I'm seeing more and more in terms of who's getting on the conference stages, who's getting the promotions, who's not getting laid off, who's getting the merit pay increases. It's the people with the professional brand. And it doesn't have to be LinkedIn, it could be a website. Another tip I'm giving is learn your AEO, AI optimize engine optimization. What does that mean? If I type in, I need an engineer to help me build a travel app. If your name doesn't pop up, you need to work on your AEOI. And ChatGPT is becoming the new search engine. So now people aren't even Googling. They're using ChatGPT and they're finding their wedding venue. ChatGPT and they're finding their next Upwork consultant. I know two consultants. All they have is a website, and somehow it's AEO optimized, and the work just comes to them because every time people ask for XYZ on ChatGPT, their name pops up. So a strong professional brand, and then if you want to be extra, get a little following. Like that's my only, if I can go back where you guys are now, I would have kept blogging. I would have developed my following, get a little big, because especially right now in the US, brand spark partnerships are key. I'm in tech, so we have Tech Week, we have Afro Tech, we have Blacks in Technologies, we have all these huge conferences. Who is getting the consulting dollars? Who is getting invited to the invitation only Microsoft party? Who is getting the referrals for the brand new, never before seen IBM jobs? It's the influencer slash subject matter expertise. That's just the trends I'm seeing on the back end. So I would say those three things are a start.
Lovely. I think that was really good, Leah. So the three things that I would say, and maybe I'll do it in a way that people can remember. So, hard skills. So your hard skills, and on that, I'd say AI. I really think it's so important that everyone on the call knows AI, uses AI on a different perspective every day, and builds your AI skills. You can't know everything about AI, but build a brand, build a depth of skill that's yours, and really be curious about AI and just be absolutely passionate about that. So your hard skills. Your second, I would recommend is your soft skills. People really underestimate the soft skills. So teamwork, collaboration, speaking, the space of the people skills, that differentiates you in the workplace because we are humans, we're not robots, and it's those skills that give us an edge. So really focus on the soft skills as well. And the third one I'd like to pick up because my son has actually influenced me in terms of this skill. I wish I had it, would like to build it. It's entrepreneurial skills, right? I think um, the way to get into employment is not just by getting a job. You could build your own business. And even when you're in a big employer, you are building and growing a business. And it comes back to Leah's point about what problems you solve. So you're trying to help grow that business, build that business. So don't let someone else decide your future. Build your own future. Be entrepreneurial yourself so you can build your own business. Or when you go into a company, they can see that you can contribute to their business. So those would be the three things. So it's hard skills, soft skills, entrepreneurial skills.
I completely agree. I was just going to add for the entrepreneurial skills, don't be afraid to start. Don't be afraid to start. I mean, in the US, you're seeing kids, they're not even graduated college yet, and they're getting millions of dollars in VC funding. Um, our titans of industry, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, college dropouts. They started their business in college and it bumped into $1 billion industry. It doesn't have to be $1 billion, start small. I mean, even $1,000 plus can really help, you know? So, and I would say use your network. As someone that I do consulting with private schools, I work with very wealthy, high network individuals. Something I noticed, the private school parents, they do that networking really good.
Mm.
You're not just playing softball, you're not just playing soccer, you're not just in the debate team. You guys are networking, you're making money together. Hey, you're good at physics, I'm good at engineering. Let's come together. Let's build an app this weekend. Let's build a website this weekend. Let's apply to a few RFPs, which are requests for proposals. And that's a way you can kind of get into consulting. So I would say, look at you side by side. Me and Dr. Wright, we make a lot of money together. Like, I got a contract. I was like, I'm strong in this. Dr. Wright's strong in the other arm. We did it. We live in Florida. We were able to work remote and go to California. And it was like the best experience ever, free of charge. And it opened up our mindset because we're trained mental health, we're trained research, but we didn't know there's a huge business need for community engagement. There's a huge business need for emotional intelligence. There's a huge business need for diversity. When me and Dr. Wright went into these rooms, we're both brown women, black women. We're the only black women there. We're like, how are you guys $1 million nonprofits and no one in the room looks like the communities you serve, you know? So we still have a long ways to go, but I mean, organizations are hungry. They want the support, they want the help, and it really just comes down to timing and you starting. So I would say I'll put it in the chat, look into intrapreneur, INTRA-preneur. It's the new trend. You still keep your 9 to 5. I still have my 9 to 5. I like my benefits. I like my 401k. I want my retirement. Maybe one day I want some other things, but I still got my little business on the side. Maybe I get a contract here. Maybe I get to do some consulting here. And it's a great way to get the best of both worlds. And for my people on the call that don't have kids, that have a lot of time on their hands, I like to say I'm a travel junkie. I travel all the time. I'm going to Japan in a month. I don't like being one place, so it's great for me, and I'm fully remote. So I would say look into intrapreneur, and that's a huge trend right now.
Love that. Can I say as well, I think the young people on the call, you have so much opportunity at your fingertips in terms of the barriers. So you can start a business, as Leah said, doesn't have to be $1 billion, but you've got those technologies to hand, right? That we didn't have when I was leaving college many, many years ago. So the barriers are lower for you. So there's so many opportunities you can, grab on. And just like Leah said, yeah, start small. That's one thing I learned in business. People build this big thing around, we've got to get to the big target, but you need to start and walk before you can run. So just start. But you've got so much opportunity. It's unbelievable.
I agree. And I was going to also say, like, be professional, but be yourself as well. Some of the opportunities I've gained, especially in business, I'm so surprised. I'm like, I have my PhD. I've done all this research. I have all these papers. They don't, every time at the end of my projects, I always ask them, anything we could do better? Why did you choose our team? We really liked you. We really liked you guys. We honestly, we could, in America, happy hours are a big thing. And they're like, we really wanted to go to a bar and have lunch or, have a beer, So there's something to say about likability. And that goes back to that earlier piece I said with confidence. There's something to say about looking someone in the eye, making a joke, even being vulnerable and admitting when you're wrong, I was on a call and I said the word challenges. And the nonprofit corrected me and said, "Oh, we see that as growth areas or growth something." And I was like, "Oh, my apologies. I should have used more asset-based language, And I thank you for that learning moment, And I think some people be like too much ego, like, "Oh, I'm not going to apologize." But as Leo said, we're continuous learners and we don't know what we know. I'm from New York. We're pretty blunt. And in that call, challenges was not the best word to use, So I think likability and presence goes a far way, emotional intelligence.
Okay, I'll just say I'm so glad my career, I've never burnt any bridges, because it's actually a small world. People you meet one day could be your boss in 5 years' time, could be a colleague in 10 years' time. You could be leading them so yeah, likability is so important, and be yourself. And I'm just myself. I'm a servant leader. I like to work with nice people. People remember me, and people buy from people when they hire people they like, right? It's all about human interaction. So yeah, likability is a really important one. So I want to back Leah up on that one.
Please, can we get some of your contact for easy communication in case we are not more together in the meeting, please?
Xavier asked, so I'm going to answer that. So kindly check in the chat box. Dr. Herbert has left her LinkedIn link over there. I think Mr. Leo Whyte, can you also share your link with us so that we can follow you and then also learn from you along the line. So there is a question in the chat box that we are actually directing to our participants on this call. We want you to access yourself, know the skills that you are currently lacking, and I mean, take practical steps or pragmatic steps onto how you're going to achieve that and garner those skills back. What kind of program would help you become job ready? Because we've talked largely about preparedness, how we have to network, how we have to take opportunities that are floating all around us, and also how we need to not wait till perfection before we start doing something even minimal. So these are questions that we want our participants to just put in the chat box. Because of time, in the interest of time, we're not going to be able to allow people to share their thoughts on these questions. So as we begin to wrap up, one thing is clear: the future does not belong to the most connected countries, and that is something Mr. Leo emphasized on. You can be in Ghana and excel, you can be in Zimbabwe, you can be in Nigeria, you can be in Uganda, and still make the most out of your environment. So we are saying that today's conversation has reminded us that African youth are not lacking in potential. As a matter of fact, we have the potential that needs to be enhanced and needs to be harnessed. So what we need right now is clarity of direction, commitment to lifelong learning, and then encouragement to compete globally while staying grounded in purpose. And to our speakers, Mr. Leo Whyte, thank you so much, Dr. Leah Herbert. We are so grateful. Thank you, Dr. Galaxina Wright. We are so grateful that you were able to make time out of your busy schedules to have this important discussion and conversation with us. We're so grateful that we're able to do that. And to our audience, thank you for choosing growth. Thank you for not just enjoying yourself at this point on social media, but choosing to learn and choosing to also make the most out of your career or whatever stage that we find ourselves in life. On behalf of Impact Minds Network, we want to say thank you, each and everyone, for your participation in the Global Career Readiness and Opportunity Summit. I just want to leave us with one thing. Let's not wait for the future. In fact, let us go all out, prepare, and then take the baton, because in no time, these people that we see here are not going to be here. They are leaving the mantle in our hands to also take it and make the most out of it. Thank you so much, Mr. Leo Whyte. Thank you, Dr. Herbert Leah. At this point, I'm going to give the opportunity to Mr. David Eche, if you want to say something. Okay, Dr. Leah wants to say something. So right after Dr. Leah, then Mr. Someno will have his take, and then we would close. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was such an honor speaking to you guys. I was going to say, I was going to give all the students some homework. You know, feel free to share your learnings from this conference, this summit. Tag everyone, tag Impact Minds, tag Leo, tag myself, tag Dr. Wright. This is such a great way while the energy is high and the learnings are fresh. You know, this is a really fun way to get some of your digital presence out there. And yeah, so I'm going to give everyone an informal homework to convert your learnings into application, to convert your learnings into value creation and portfolio. So that's the professor's homework to y'all.
Love that. It's been great speaking with everyone. I think, yeah, this is not the end, right? We're here to help and support. I want to give my experience and everything to you guys. Please take what we've got on board. Start tomorrow. Start small. Follow the homework. I love homework. That's important. And just keep going. You'll get there. You will get there. You will get that dream job. You will get to where you want to get to. Seems hard now, but you will get there. But yeah, we're here to help. And it's been great. So thank you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you to our wonderful speakers. Mr. David Echesomenu, if you're on the call, please give us your closing remark and then we'll sign out.
Thank you so much, and thank you to our speakers, Mr. Leo and Dr. Leah. We are so much grateful for honoring our invitation. This is very powerful and impactful. We believe that everybody on this call will take some action right after the session. They mentioned action. So let us get biased towards action and do something right after the session. We believe that it won't end here. We'll continue to receive the mentorship. We'll continue to receive the guidance as we'll also push to give back to young people in Africa. Thank you so much, and we really appreciate it.
All right, that said, thank you once again. Thank you. And just a bit of information. So we are exploring the possibility of launching a structured program to support young Africans, and we will need your input. So we're going to drop a link, a Google form link in the chat box, and also those already on our WhatsApp platforms. We're going to share it over there, and then you just spare us 2 minutes of your time and then give us your input on that. So thank you so much. And this brings us to the end of Glocros 2026. We are glad that we're able to wait up until now. I see the numbers are still soaring. A lot more people are eager and success hungry. I'm so grateful that it has gotten to a point where young people are no longer adamant, they are no longer uninterested in discussions like this. I think we are transitioning, and it all boils down to these little conversations that we will have that would eventually inspire us to want to take up the challenge and then make the most out of our lives. So without wasting time, let's bow our heads for a short word of prayer. Most ever loving Father, we give you the glory and honor and adoration for how far you have brought us, for seeing us through today's conversation. We're grateful and we thank you. Father, from the keynote speaker to the last speaker, whatever they have shared with us, the nuggets of wisdom that they have shared with us, it is our prayer that we are able to work with it, work on it, and then make the most out of what we have heard today. Help us to know the need and the urgency to network, to know how important it is to start little and not to wait for the super opportunity before we make the most out of it. Thank you so much, God, and thank you all. In Jesus' mighty name have we prayed with thanksgiving. Amen. So we call it a night. Thank you so much. Do have a great evening.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a great one and keep in
Bye.
touch.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Please, how about the certificate?
Okay, so with the certificates, I think we'll discuss that on the WhatsApp platform. So if you're not on the platform, kindly drop your contact information in the chat box, and then we'll add you shortly to our WhatsApp platform.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.